Hi, I'm Justin Paperny. Thank you so much for your time. I want to jump right in and provide value and cover this topic of managing criticism, along with the number one lesson I learned from Dr. Phil. As many of you know, I sat for a lengthy 90-minute interview with Dr. Phil last year. And at the end of that interview, I was able to ask him some questions. And at the end of this video, I'm going to put up a specific response to the question I asked him about how he manages and deals with inevitable criticism. So it's really valuable. I encourage you to hang out for just a few minutes to the end of this video to watch it. The idea for this video really stems from an add to my high technology here and get all this going. Earlier this week, Think Advisor ran a very lengthy article on white collar advice. And I'm going to put up the link in the description to that article if you want to read it. Probably take you 6 or 7 minutes. And in this article, it mentions that I lecture at business schools across the country. And sometimes clients actually join me on stage, as she wrote. Often current clients join him to discuss and perhaps bolster their cases. I have found that, as I remove this with my high screen share technology, I have found speaking in front of business students to be a wonderful mitigation strategy. Myriad clients have done it. Though a client called me this morning to tell me that his lawyer offered such criticism of this idea to speak with me. And he just didn't say no. The lawyer kind of embarrassed him and said, "You're a felon. Your story's not that exciting. What can students learn from you? I don't think this is going to persuade or impress the judge. Is this something you really want to do? And you're spending so much time on this." So my client has gone from very excited and spending hours each day to understanding the pressures and motivations that guided him to break the law and preparing to tell this story, which will be difficult, to, well, maybe I shouldn't do it. Maybe it doesn't matter. So the criticism really derailed him. And that's what I want to talk about for a couple of minutes before I end with that Dr. Phil video. First and foremost, when you get criticism, it is very common to respond negatively or in kind, right? And to get defensive. That's understandable. The question is how you respond to it. So that's the first tip I want to offer. Is the criticism valid? Is there any justification in the advice that you're actually getting? Do you have the strength or the resolve to think, okay, maybe they have some valid points here. I can learn from that. Maybe there's a better path here. They have my best interest at heart. But sometimes the criticism is just flat wrong, especially from people who do not know you, do not know the path that you're on, and seek to offer the very unsolicited advice. I'm actually going to put up a quote from Ayn Rand that she wrote in her book Atlas Shrugged that Michael Santos introduced me to that helps people fully understand the value of unsolicited advice. The question is, if you get that really unfavorable or terrible unsolicited advice from people that you don't know, people who are rude, what do you do? Avoid them. In this case, my client can't avoid his lawyer. He's going to get sentenced in 6 weeks. But generally speaking, if there are people in your life who are critical, who really don't have your best interest at heart, it's best to move on. Lastly, before I turn it over to this video with Dr. Phil, how did I handle the useless criticism? It motivated me. It motivated me to wake early and to prove people wrong and to let them know that I could do it and to let them know that I was capable of doing great things despite my felony conviction or bad decisions that I had made. And that's how I'm going to wrap it up. And that's what I encourage my client to do today. I said, despite the criticism, despite the negative feedback, you have an opportunity to do better. You have an opportunity to educate others on your very unique story and how you ended up in this white-collar crime that may lead you to prison. And yes, I think the letter from the professor may help you with sentencing. So that's how I will end. Please watch this minute and 23-second video with my friend, Dr. Phil. Bye-bye.
And if you don't mind educating me for a moment, how have you learned to overcome the inevitable criticism?
Well, look, you said it right. It's inevitable criticism because I take positions. A lot of people try and play it safe and just not ever take a position. They'll just introduce a topic. But I take bold positions. And you can be talking about a certain mental illness, for example, and there are 2 or 3 legitimate schools of thought about that particular mental illness. Mm-hmm. And if I embrace one, the other 2 schools of thought are going to be critical. If I embrace one of those, then these 2 schools of thought are going to be critical. So my attitude has been enhanced by I've never been afflicted with the need to be loved by strangers. Mm-hmm. I just don't. And then my belief is you're going to get criticized no matter what you do. So you might as well do what feels authentic and right to you. And I'm never reluctant to say, I don't know if I don't know, but if I believe it, I say it. And if they disagree, then okay, that's okay.